Looking to take your financial knowledge to the next level? You're in the right place. Welcome to Ask Ralph, offering accounting, technical, and financial advice. Whether you're looking to save taxes or improve your business, he's got you covered. Here's your host of Ask Ralph, Ralph Eastup Jr.
Welcome back to the Ask Ralph Show. If you've been listening lately, we've been doing a whole series on payroll. We've talked about the basics of payroll. We've talked about 6 common payroll mistakes. Well, today what I want to talk about is the top 5 reasons that you should outsource your payroll. What I mean by outsource is use a third-party provider to handle your payroll. If you've listened to anything I've said in the payroll sessions already, you know there are some complexities to this. And one of the things I definitely recommend is to outsource your payroll. Millions of U.S. businesses do this now. Why do they do it? And what's the benefit it brings to them? That's what we're going to talk about today. You know, in a recent survey conducted by Robert Half and the Financial Executive Research Foundation, 39% of U.S. companies, more than 10 million businesses, claim they outsource their payroll processing, and 43% outsource their tax functions. So you can see this is something that a lot of people do. While some businesses opt to handle running payroll functions in-house through manual bookkeeping or do-it-yourself payroll apps, small business owners have increasingly come to prefer the expertise of professional payroll providers. Now, before I go any further, I want to explain this doesn't mean for some of my, new clients or people that have talked to me about doing work for them, this doesn't mean that you use QuickBooks payroll service where they provide you with a software, but you're still required to do all the entry yourself. That is what I would call maybe a hybrid or a partial outsourcing. What I'm talking about here is the actually taking it out of your office and paying someone else to handle. So here's what they say, the top 5 reasons to outsource that. Number 1 is time saved. No matter how many employees a business has, processing payroll demands a lot of time and attention to detail. Pay period follows pay period, each time requiring the business owner or their payroll person to type in a large amount of data and double check for keying errors. You don't want to make mistakes here. That's time taken away from critical tasks like building revenue and serving value customers. Outsourcing payroll gives owners more time to focus on what matters the most to them. In many cases, they'll only need to contact their payroll company representative once per pay period. So, for example, if we have a lot of clients that we do payroll for. What we ask of the clients, we sit down with them, we go over their payroll function, and then basically the only thing they need to do with us on a weekly basis is let us know, what the payroll hours were. If they've added any new employees, if anybody has changed their deductions, if there's been any updates to W-4s. And that's basically it. So what I always say to clients is, let us handle what we do well and you do what you handle well. It makes no sense to me that someone who is very good at, let's say they're a plumber and they're great at doing plumbing work. Well, it makes no sense for them to sit there hour upon hour trying to figure out the payroll each week when they could outsource that payroll and spend that time out doing billable work for clients. So that's issue number 2 is money saved. Time saved is money saved. So you think about the time, what I was just talking about, so let's say you're that plumber and you bill $90 an hour for your labor. Well, if you're spending 3 or 4 hours a week, that's lost revenue to you. And I guarantee it's going to cost you less to outsource it because you're going to be spending time calculating payroll each time period, printing, signing, and distributing paychecks or pay stubs, generating reports for in-house and accountant use, preparing and remitting payroll taxes and returns to government agencies. When evaluated on a per payroll period on a monthly basis, a time cost analysis may very well indicate the benefits of an affordable full service provider. So that's what we're talking about there. So, you got time saved, which equals money saved because you're not going to be focusing on this. The next one is enhanced security. Now, I don't want to beat this one up, and this is an important one. Payroll processing is a complex and potentially risky business operation. Even with trusted employees, there's always a risk of identity theft, embezzlement, or tampering with company records for personal gain. There's also risk from using payroll software companies that aren't well established, maybe out of business or bought by another company in a few weeks or months. Now, one of the things that, having done a lot of fraud investigation, this is an area where employers will get themselves in trouble when they count on a particular employee to handle the whole payroll function. Time and time again, you will read about cases where payroll taxes weren't paid because of employee embezzlement. And we're going to talk about that in another session here coming up. But, this is an area that is really important. How safe and secure is payroll data on the company server network? Do you want anyone to have access to people's, social security numbers, date of birth, children information? This nagging question can consume a business owner's energy and attention as well. By contrast, outsourcing payroll to a stable, experienced provider can offer a safe haven for your confidential payroll data. In addition to redundant backup and multiple server locations, a quality payroll provider invests in state-of-the-art systems for storing and protecting data simply because it's part of the service provided to clients. And that's something we offer to our clients. We actually prepare a payroll, and it takes it off-site. You don't have to worry about somebody on-site having access to all of that information. So that's really important. So enhanced security. Now, another big one is compliance with government regulations. And generally speaking, small business owners aren't the experts in the complicated world of government tax regulations. That's not your forte. That's not what you do. At the same time, but you're legally responsible for any cases of misrepresentation, or a failure to accurately report employee taxes to federal and state government agencies. These mistakes can lead to big audits and big penalties, situations no small business wants or needs. According to the IRS, more than 1.8 million tax returns were audited in 2016 for businesses with income between $200,000 and $1 million. And 978,564 businesses of all sizes were assessed civil penalties. So that's a big deal. Compliance with government regulations. Government rules and regulations are always changing. And as a small business owner, you can't be expected to stay on top of these changes. Professional payroll providers, on the other hand, must stay current with these rules. We need to know these things. We need to know the regulations and changes in the tax rates, updated tax tables. So, and some companies, they have whole departments that are dedicated to payroll. But if you're a small business client, you want to make sure you've got this under control and understand the compliance with government regulations. So that's why, we lead to the final thing, which is the expertise of professionals. Professional payroll company employs individuals who know payroll processing inside and out. It's somebody that you can call and ask questions about. These individuals specialize in the complexity of payroll taxes as well as compliance with government regulations. It's what they're trained to do and part of a guaranteed service they provide. When we wrap this all up, savings in time and money, greater data security, and comfort of knowing experts are handling your payroll functions. These are all very compelling reasons for millions of businesses to outsource their payroll. So, why? What are you thinking about not doing that? Is it worth your time? Could you be spending that time doing something else instead of worrying about, are my payroll taxes paid? Am I filing the right reports? I'm telling you, if you listen to anything I've said so you've been listening to our show or listening to our podcast, this is an area that will cause you problems, and the penalties get high very quickly. They will grow, and we're going to talk about some of the things that that will present themselves as payroll problems in our next session. But like I said, give a real clear thought process to outsourcing it. And there are resources that you can look at for good choices for outsourcing, or you call somebody like myself or an accounting firm and see if we'll do it for you. So I hope this was helpful.
You've been listening to Ask Ralph, brought to you by Saggio Accounting Plus. Please subscribe to and rate our podcast on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts, and leave us a rating and review. Our podcast is produced by Carolyn Peters. Thank you for listening, and be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at Ask Ralph Media. You can also hear me each week on 1450 WILM and on 1410 WDOV in Delaware, and on the iHeartRadio app. Submit your questions or ideas for future shows by sending an email to AskRalph@AskRalph.com.
The information contained in this episode of Ask Ralph is based on data available as of the date of its release. Saggio Accounting Plus and Ask Ralph Media Inc. is under no obligation to update this content if changes occur. Applying this information to your specific situation requires careful consideration of all facts and circumstances, and any information provided is not to be considered as financial, tax, or legal advice. Please consult your tax advisor or attorney before acting on any material covered.